Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of the Next Gen Bets podcast.
I hope it fall off. Ain't no way. I might be aight, but I ain't okay.
So, today we are going to do our recap of the Week 15 slate with all of our games that we went through. In total, before we get into it, just to kind of start it all off, we went 5 for 13 on the week. We're going to go through each and every one of those bets with you guys right now. Just so you guys know a little bit of math, so you get a percentage. Five for 13 is 38.46%. Not what we're looking for. It's definitely something, but it's not what we want. So we're
Only
just gonna,
only down point 0.7 units though. So we
yeah.
were smart
So
with our bets, good unit sizing, and the damage is very well controlled.
yeah, that's prime damage control. If you're gonna go 5 for 13, you only lose zero point 0.7 units, that's pretty good. So
Yeah.
can't complain about all
We
that.
we lost all of our smaller bets, so that messes with your percentage there. But and we didn't do well on any of the high odds yet again.
Yeah,
But
but that's technically expected when you do a high odd bets.
it is expected. And bro, Ray Davis scored this week. We bet him last week, doesn't score. Bet him, don't bet him this week, scores.
Scores probably better odds too.
Had to mention that.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're gonna kick this episode off by talking about our lock of the week from last week. If you guys missed out, our lock of the week was Cincinnati -6 straight, like six, just straight six. We put a unit on it to win a unit. And the final score of that game was 37 Cincinnati, 27 Tennessee Titans. I will admit that the Tennessee Titans were in that game a little bit more than I thought they would be, especially considering the quarterback trouble they experienced. But Cincinnati ended up covering for us, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, they were in it to start, Tennessee was, and then Will Levis kind of took over from that point, and Tennessee then scored a garbage touchdown to make it only a 10-point victory for Cincinnati instead of 17. Burrow started a little slow, and then they got hot, and I think that once the second quarter came around, I stopped watching this one and penciled it in as a win for us. Nice lock, got our now 1-1 on locks of the week. Um, we're trying to do well on those. A lock's supposed to be a nice calm bet for you guys, and this one definitely meets that. You didn't really have to watch it at all. It's nice and easy.
Yeah, and we followed our idea of doing locks of the week as like a spread. And since we did that, it was successful because last week it was not a spread, so we're gonna probably have to stick to that. Um, Then moving on to the next game that we bet on, we have the Dallas Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers. We didn't bet any lines on this game when it comes to like spread or anything, even though Carolina was favored for the first time since 2022. But the final score for this game was 30-14. Dallas won, obviously. Carolina did not win their first game as a favorite, and we were more focused on player props for this game. So we have. Um, we're focusing on Chuba Hubbard. We had him to be the last touchdown scorer. He did not score, so he was not the last touchdown scorer. And then the other person we were focusing on was Xavier Legette, and we needed him to get 30, or we needed him at, where is it?
39 and a half yards.
39 and a half. Yeah, I thought it was
7.
39, but then I was like, wait, maybe it's 40. So
Yeah.
we had him at over 39 and a half, so we needed 40 out of him. Um, and he
It's
had
no good.
7. So
No.
what are your thoughts, Kyle?
Yeah, this one's got me real mad because we've been talking about it for a couple weeks. Like every time we don't bet the Panthers, they go off. We bet the Panthers and they disappoint us. We faded Chuba Hubbard last week, his rushing yards against the Eagles, thinking they're going to split carries. Jonathan Brooks gets hurt, so that went out of the window immediately. We bet Chuba last touchdown, and this was our touchdown of the week. Got a nice plus 430 for you guys. I was real excited about this one because I thought Chuba would at least score and maybe it wouldn't be the last touchdown. But what ends up happening is the last touchdown of the game goes to a Bryce Young scramble from like the 8-yard line after they got to the 3, and there's a false start where even on that false start they went to pass instead of just handing it off to Chuba Hubbard, who's kind of put himself in one of the like top 10 running back maybe because he's having a really strong year and off the game he had against the Eagles. But no, they don't want to run it in with their running back. They want to throw it, and they don't want to throw it to Xavier Legette. He had really like 3, 4 targets, only 2 catches for 7 yards. That bothered me because he was kind of taking off his receiver one. They were talking about how they trust him even though he's dropping the ball. And no, it's Jake Coker that goes for an 83-yard touchdown. And that was really the only offense Carolina had the whole game. So their first time as favorite, it's going to be a while before they're a favorite again because this was just abysmal performance from them. They had a good chance against Dallas to win, Everybody was picking them. We picked them. We jumped on some player props instead of just their spread, and they were such a disappointment. Their two best players were very underperforming, and Leggett, who's probably their best receiver, or at least seems to be, at least he was emerging, and Chuba emerging as the top running back was just didn't sniff the end, didn't get carries near the end zone in this one.
Yeah, but I'm sure the books loved the result of that game. Um, because I don't know the exact numbers, but I'd guarantee it that most of the money was on Carolina in that game. So I'm sure the books are rather happy on this fine Tuesday. Um,
They're always happy.
yeah, I mean they are always happy. They're always making money,
Mad
so they
about
can't
them.
complain really. Um, the next game that we're here to talk about is the Miami Dolphins and the Houston Texans. We took the over in that game. We took over 46.5 in that game. The final score of that game was 12-20. And I'm not good at math, so I'm not making any judgments here. But
Not
that is
close.
very simple math that the over did not hit. It did not
Yes.
hit.
Yes.
Kyle? Yeah, I know you could go for hours about
I can.
so
I
go
can. So
ahead.
Tua threw three picks, and before I get mad at those three picks, the one was god awful. So I'm not going to excuse that. But the other two are on Tyreek Hill. All three of Tua's picks were targeting Tyreek. The last one, if you watch the overhead view of it, Tyreek's route is just sloppy, and it lets Stingley cut in for the pick. It was like a slot sale concept, and his break wasn't crisp, and Tua throws that ball before Tyreek breaks. So it's like it's a timing throw, and 20 yards downfield is a lot of time for the ball in the air. So as Stingley undercuts Tyreek, it's an easy catch for Stingley, who's a great corner, by the way. I don't want to take anything away from him. And then the pick to end the game there. Tua hits Tyreek perfectly, ball's in Tyreek's hands, and Stingley just straight up rips it out of his hands. So Tua throwing three picks didn't really help our over, although it almost did because he nearly threw a pick six. A lot of red zone drives for, I guess, really the Texans had more red zone drives than the Dolphins, but that ended in field goals. Dolphins had one end zone drive that ended in a pick. And the over had a chance even late in this game. If Miami could have just made it if they just were able to tie it instead of Tua throwing a pick, we would have had 20-20, and then that next touchdown would have got us right to that over line at 47. So there's always hope for the over in most of the time because it's just a touchdown's worth 7 points compared to if you're betting the over in a basketball game and it's a two or a three at a time. So that always gives me optimism, but I expected more from both of these offenses. Houston's offense was actually really bad and Miami's defense isn't great. They played good. The points they were scored were basically all off of Tua's turnovers, and they did have a fumble that set Houston up for one of their touchdowns. And the one touchdown Houston did score without a turnover. They had a fourth down fake punt conversion where there was an awful missed hold on the edge there that they didn't call. So really, Houston could have. If Miami played well, Houston probably scores like 6 points in this game, but Miami was just handing out stuff for Houston, so didn't get close or over. And that's why we didn't bet Dolphins spread or Dolphins money line. But I
Yeah.
didn't think they would lose like that. I thought they would at least the offense would show up to more than 12 points. And
And if you guys are up to date on our Twitter, you guys, I believe Kyle said that he wishes like before the game, of course, he wanted Dolphins money line, but that was because he's a Dolphins fan. It was he said in the tweet that it was bias, and that's why we didn't post it.
but we didn't,
But
yeah.
he did talk about how much he liked the Dolphins going into that game, so it's unfortunate that they they beat themselves, I feel like.
Yeah, because there's always the numbers about the Dolphins versus teams that are like over 500, but Houston's close to 500 and they just haven't been like I don't know. Some teams will be under 500, but they'll scare you more than a team that's 8-6 or 8-5, like Houston was going into this one. Houston, like with their division that they play in, and just the injuries they've had on offense, and just even the way Stroud's looked this year, like he's still very good, and I'd take him as a quarterback over a lot of guys in this league. But they just aren't as explosive as we've seen them. They're kind of similar to the Dolphins, where they'll beat up on a team under 500. So.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't even that wasn't why they won. Like they didn't do that. So
Yep. Now moving on to the next game, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles. So for this game, we took Pittsburgh to cover the plus 5.5 spread that they were. We had a unit on that um, to win. Or no, we had 1.05 units on that to win a singular
yeah,
unit.
minus
The final
105.
score for that game was the Eagles 27, the Steelers 13. Once again, did not cover the spread for us. another like heartbreaking loss for us. This is the early games killed us. They destroyed us.
Yeah, this one wasn't great. The reasoning behind this one was just simple. Pittsburgh was 5-2 against the spread on the road, and Philly was 1-4 at home against the spread, and it went the other way. It's based on the numbers, I'd probably bet that every time. You
Yep.
take the 5-2 team against the 1-4 team, but didn't go that way. So
Yeah, no. I mean,
no
pretty
Pickens in this one didn't help out.
exactly. Um, and then we have on top of that, we had the plow, my favorite one, the plow. That's what we're going to talk about next. Now that for us was um Derrick Henry anytime TD, Zay Flowers anytime TD, and Mark Andrews anytime TD. We had zero point 0.2 units on that to win 1.2 units. Um, and in that game, the final was 35-14 for the Ravens, which, if my math is right, they covered their
Yeah, it was 16 they
spread,
covered.
the
And the
16 and a
fourth,
half spread.
it was 35-7 garbage touchdown there for the.
Yeah, yeah. And so but on the flip, we did not get the touchdowns required for that
We
for that
started off
time.
hot.
Yeah, we did. Mark
Andrews
Andrews scored right off the rip.
Andrews got the first one. Next two went to Rashad Bateman, and it was frustrating because we needed Zay Flowers, not Bateman. And then Derrick Henry. Tough game for Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry fantasy owners in playoff season of fantasy. Derrick Henry just they didn't need him, so it's not like he had a bad game, but there's no need. Lamar was throwing it over everybody, so kind of unfortunate. Some of the guys that did got touchdowns, like if we had two touchdowns on Rashad Bateman, the odds would have been crazy on that one. But
Yeah, but I mean, you can't like sit there and try to predict
yeah,
that.
who's betting that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, there's definitely people out there that did, but they're
Yeah.
not they're not serious bettors, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, that was a frustrating. Well, not really frustrating. That was the plow, so I can't even say it was frustrating.
Well, it
But
was frustrating just
Get
because it
that
was
you
like
get that like, oh, we're gonna start off hot because Andrews gets the first touchdown. You're like, oh,
yeah,
there's one of the two, and
they
then
scored so many touchdowns, just
yeah,
not
exactly. We knew they
dot.
were gonna score points going into that game, so we weren't worried about them not like them scoring. But then Bateman gets two. Shout out to Bateman. Not mad that he got two, but then Zay Flowers doesn't get any. Normally Zay Flowers does well, and then Derrick Henry doesn't do anything, and normally he does well. And as Kyle just
I
explained,
like
he wasn't
Bateman,
really
man.
needed, but um,
Bateman.
it's
So
one of those things like when we bet on them, they're just not utilized. It's something like our we have for some reason we have a hard time with the player props. We
we
did
do. We do
Chuba's
struggle.
under. We did Chuba's under. He hammered his over. We did when I did Mac Jones under. He hammered his over. We'll get
Yep.
into the next one next.
Let's
Then
let's jump into that right now. So this was our prop of the week.
yeah,
We had
yeah, we'll
Mac
go into the
Jones.
prop of the week.
Yeah,
Um,
we had Mac Jones and Rodgers to have under 2.5 passing touchdowns. In five starts against the Patriots, Mac Jones has only thrown three touchdowns. Or against the Jets with the Patriots, he's only thrown three passing touchdowns. Or maybe it was four, but yeah, it was four because he averaged zero point 0.8 per game. So that's four touchdowns in 5 games is the math for that. And first drive, it's like fourth and or third and goal for the Jaguars, and they end up sacking Mac Jones on like a one of them long 10-second scramble plays. And I'm like, great, field goal. This is perfect start for about all we need is them to just not have success in the red zone. Very next, and then you turn and there's a flag, defensive holding on the Jets on a completely irrelevant defensive holding. Like it wasn't, Mac Jones wasn't looking in this direction. There was other defenders in the area, no reason to hold. And then very next play, I'm like, all right, maybe they'll just hand it to Tank Bigsby, get your 1 yard rushing touchdown or ATN or Mac Jones on a sneak, whatever. No, we're gonna throw a fade to Brian Thomas or whoever it was that caught. I think it was Brian Thomas got the first one. He had a big day, but it's just frustrating that that's how it went. And then later in the game, Devontae Adams goes out at the half-yard line. Perfect chance to give Breece Hall a nice touchdown. No, let's throw a goal line fade. So stuff like that's tough. I didn't, but I'm not too mad at that one because I didn't have that game being 35-27 or whatever it ended up being.
or 32-25.
Yeah, I did not have that many points in that game on my radar, so
Yeah.
there's no way that we were basically betting the under just on players instead of the direct under.
hmm Um, So then moving on from that, our next game was the Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills, and we had under 54 and a half for that game. Um, now the total for that game was way, way, way above that as the Buffalo Bills won that game 48-42. So as you can tell, they
Great game.
absolutely destroyed that over. That's a college football score right there. Um,
Yes.
I mean, there's just not much to talk about that. Jared Goff had 5 touchdowns. It's just an incredible day for him. He had almost 500
Yeah,
yards,
we just
50
kind
fantasy
of
points.
tossed this one in there as it was like a Vegas needed this because most of the money was on the over in this one, and figured we'd side with the bad guys, and that's what we get. So, but it was just a half unit, so nothing too bad there. And then I want to rant on one game real quick. We had the New Orleans team total under 16 and a half points. They ended up losing to Washington 19 to 20. But this one made me furious. I was like ripping my hair out on my couch watching this game. Because like first of all, I shouldn't be watching this game. It was god awful the whole time. I was only really watching because we had this bet and I have Jaden Daniels in fantasy. So needed, points from him. But New Orleans has 0 points at the half. It was 14 nothing. So then you go to the second half, New Orleans scores a little bit. Alvin Kamara makes a great catch on a trick play thrown from Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I was like, all right, cool. Tweeted about that. I was like, we don't need points, but nice catch. Nice little golf clap for you there. And then they get close. They get to 13 points. I was like, all right, just they got to score a touchdown to, try to win the game. They're not going to kick a field goal and stop at 16 because it's now 20 to 13 at this point. They go down. There's 9 seconds left. The clock stops for some reason. It restarts. They spike it with 3 seconds left. They score a touchdown as time expires. I'm like, oh, great. You ruined our bet. It was a nice play call. So good job from Rattler there. And then they go for two instead of just kicking the extra point, playing overtime, and letting me, milk out some Jaden Daniels fantasy points. It's the fantasy playoffs here. Need every point you can get. They have the most god-awful play call I've ever seen for a 2 point conversion. Like, first of all, why couldn't you just run that for the play before? Because that would have been also winning our bet. And then you called timeout to set up a 2 point play, and that's what you come up with. It was like they were like, we showed that we could win the game, but we're not going to because we're tanking for a draft pick here. So thanks for letting us ruin your bet, and we're gonna move on. That game had me really mad on Sunday. Really mad.
He was fuming. He was fuming. He was going crazy in the messages.
I
Um,
was. I was mad.
but for a good reason, for a good reason. But moving on from that, now we can get into the positive areas of
We
our
finished
weekend.
hot, so hopefully that translates to
Yes,
next
we
week.
finished
So,
very strong starting Sunday night or
yep.
afternoon,
This is
afternoon
why you
night.
gotta follow the Twitter.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
One
no,
of these, one of these
no,
was in
I'm
the
jumping the gun.
podcast.
Jumping the
One of
gun.
them was from Twitter. Well, no,
Yes.
only one of them was from Twitter. Three of them were from the podcast. But anyways, so the first one we're going to talk about was Denver -3.5. We had that. That was the one that was part of the podcast last week. Um, and that hammered. Denver ended up winning 31-13, so that was a comfortable win for us.
A wild loss for Indy there. They kind of just gave that one away, but no
Yeah, they
complaint.
did. They did. Denver finished off crazy strong. They had 4 points in the or 21 points in the fourth quarter. Sorry, I had my numbers backwards. Um, and then you kind of like you look at the sequence of events in that game. You see the Jonathan Taylor fumbling it at the half-yard line, and then it just unraveled, and like the game just
Happened in the Tennessee game too,
yeah,
for the
game's
Bengals.
no longer in reach. That shit, I could rant for hours about players doing that, first of all. It pisses me off. It's just like carry the fucking ball until you're in the end zone. I don't know why you got to drop it like at the goal line anyways, like just carry that thing in and then just hold it. You can hold it during your goddamn celebration. I don't really care, but like people who drop it because they do that a lot in college too. They do it in the NFL, they do it in college, and like in the pros, you really should have the ability to be
Hold
aware
the
that you
ball.
should probably hold on to the ball through the goal line. You probably shouldn't drop it at the goal line because I don't even know what the hell the benefit
Yeah,
of doing
I
that
don't
is.
get it, man.
Yeah, like
Because
what are you doing? Like it's not even like I don't even know what the proper word is for it, but like you're
the
really not
better
even competing with
celebrations
the other
anyway
team.
happen with the ball.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of
Go
celebrations
spike
they
the ball.
incorporate the
Go punt
football.
it at a small child in the stands.
Go ahead, you know what I mean? Do
Yeah.
do what you got to do, but like don't drop it at the half-yard line and look like a dumbass and then just rolls into the end zone and ends up being a touchback and you look stupid. And then I get to talk about you being dumb, you know?
Or
Like
worse, the defense picks it up. We saw it happen in college, and they run it back.
yeah, that's the thing
Before
too.
a game, but I know that happened for a fact.
Yeah, no, that's definitely happened before. I mean, I don't really care because we had Denver, but it's just like one of those things that I get really frustrated when I see professional level athletes do stupid shit like that where they just drop the football at the half-yard line when they could just carry it into the end zone. Um, but that is what it is. I don't love
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor anyways, so it's
And
not
Bo Nix continues to be perfect as a favorite
against the
against the
spread.
spread.
Yeah.
And then moving on to the reason you have to follow our Twitter account at NextGenBets. Um, we added Green Bay money line late Sunday night. We just the way the night was going, and we kind of just the Geno Smith against the good teams trend, kind of similar to the good teams versus the Dolphins trend. We just took straight up Green Bay money line. I think the only dog that won outright was Tampa Bay, which we talked about taking, but we didn't. So oh, and Dallas, but the I guess Buffalo was a dog too, but they're a slight dog. I don't know. It just seemed like a game where Green Bay wasn't gonna like. As soon as Detroit lost, and this kind of goes into Monday, like Green Bay and Minnesota weren't gonna mess around. They're trying to catch up to Detroit. As soon as they saw Detroit losing, because like they're not gonna say that they know, but they know they needed to win. They know what happened. So especially Minnesota on a Monday, but Green Bay had like an hour or like 30 minutes to an hour in between when that game ended versus when that game started. So. That's why we added that one. Nice. Had to not the greatest odds, minus 146, but it didn't have to worry about it all night, so we'll
Yeah,
take it.
and it hit, so that's all that matters. But yeah, like Kyle said, that was a late Twitter ad, so that wasn't one that we did on the podcast. That was we were watching the games and then went out on Twitter and we're like, hey, we're picking this. So go follow us over on Twitter. That way you guys can follow up on these or keep track of these bets as well, because we track them. They're part of our official stats, but you guys don't hear about them on this. So
I
um
think we're gonna start doing that more because a
yes,
lot of times we try to get these videos out to you guys like real early in the week. Like we usually record these on Thursday and not all player props are out. So I think we're gonna try to wait on the player props and give you better player because that's been our struggle suit has been the player props, and part of that is because the not every odd is or like not every line is out. So
yeah. And we
we're
take weird odd
small
or weird
pickings for
lines.
player props. Yeah, like a lot of combos because they don't have straight up like over under certain
Hmm.
amount of yards because it's early in the week. So
Yep.
especially those night games, like we when we do these videos, there's no Monday night lines or even Sunday night lines.
Yeah, exactly. So keep up on that if you guys want to like keep up with the bets that we're making. That way you guys can pretty much follow to a T our bets if you guys are doing that. Um, we'll move on now to another bit. From now on, these are all on the podcast. So we have Minnesota -7. That was on Monday. These next two bets are from the doubleheader on Monday. So we have Minnesota -7. That one hit very comfortably for us, which is
They
amazing.
love that.
They won 30-12 over the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams, useless ass. So I cannot be upset about that. I got to one, make money, and two, watch Caleb lose, which to me is like making money twice. So, I can't even, I literally don't have a single complaint. What were your thoughts, Kyle?
Yeah, we tend to do well on the spreads. So I think with the straight spreads, we were what 3-1 on the weekend. We had
Yeah, I
Cincinnati
believe.
-6, Minnesota -7, and then Denver -3.5, and then our one loss was Pittsburgh +5.5. So
Yeah,
pretty much all of these bets are like the same concept of one team's good against the spread, either at home or away, and the other's bad, either at home or away, or in Tennessee's case, they're just bad straight up. But we've bet Cincinnati twice now, as a road team taking their spread. So these ones are pretty simple, just looking at against the spread numbers, and it was no different in this Minnesota one. Minnesota is a good against the spread team at home, and Chicago's bad on the road. So if you see those spots come up, we're probably taking them already.
yep, exactly. And then to go on to piggyback off of that Minnesota game, we had a parlay with Minnesota money line and then Atlanta money line. Atlanta was the other team playing in that doubleheader last night or Monday. Um, and Atlanta won that game with a weird score of 15-9, which is a little interesting. That's not your common score. Do you know what that thing is that people like? There's people on Twitter who
Scorigami.
literally, yeah, scoregami. They
There was
probably
a,
like
a
to jump
Dolphins
that.
game hit that a couple weeks ago. I think it might have been the Dolphins Jets game because of the overtime.
See,
But
and then that's that useless
I
knowledge
love
coming out of Kyle
Scorigami.
right there,
Fun.
which is perfect. And he was probably having fun looking at the scorigamis after that. So, um, but yeah, so 15-9 is a little bit of a weird score. But anyways, we had a parlay for that, so we don't really care what the score was as long as Atlanta wins. So we had Minnesota money line, Atlanta money line. Like I said, we bet we bet 1.032 units on that, which is a little bit of a weird unit number, but it's okay. And we won a singular unit off of it, which is perfect. That's all we're looking to do. Um,
We got it at -104, so it's close to even, but not quite even there. So that's why the math's a little off. I know Atlanta closed -6.5, and they ended up winning by 6, like Connor said. So that's why we went money line. Didn't like the spread enough there. And to combine those two to get -104, this is like my favorite thing to do in really all of sports. So you get to the end of the season. This was partly why I wanted to take the Dolphins money line, but I didn't do it. It was why I wanted to take San Francisco and did take San Francisco in past weeks, but didn't do it this week, so it worked out well there. But when you teams get desperate and they need to win, I like betting against them. Like Atlanta needed this game. Their season's gone if they lose to the Raiders. They knew Tampa Bay won going into this game. Same way Minnesota knew Detroit lost, so it'd be big for them. Minnesota's already locked in the playoffs though, so that had me, I guess, slightly worried. But like teams need to win games to stay alive. So I love betting on a team that needs to win versus a team that doesn't. Um, unless you're the Miami Hurricanes football team, because they don't understand that concept.
They only lose when they need to win. So
Yeah, they only lose when they need to win. So.
yeah, that's
And
pretty
then
cool.
another thing that I'm a huge fan of doubleheader on Monday. I had my TV set up with the Minnesota game because I think that was the more exciting teams. And then I had the Raiders game on my computer underneath it, but I got both going, not the crazy where I'm flipping back and forth on Sunday, just simple two games, beautiful. And then for some reason, this week we only have one game on Monday and it's god awful. It's Saints at the Packers, which who cares? And then we have two games on Saturday that are not at the same time, 1 and 4. So then to compete with college football for some reason, when I have to watch absolute garbage Sunday night, absolute garbage Monday night, and they have two good games on Saturday competing with the very first 12-team college football playoff. Like who did that? Why did we do that? And how do we get rid of it so we don't have this overlap again ever?
Yeah, it's kind
Stick
of
to the
ridiculous.
doubleheader on Monday is great.
Yeah, I like the double headers on Monday. That's
Like I'd be okay with a doubleheader on Thursday.
yeah, but I mean the
But
Monday one's
players
definitely
wouldn't like
better,
that though.
but I'm a big fan of the double headers. I don't like Saturday. I
Yeah,
think the
like
NFL should keep the pause off the Saturdays. I think that's college
yeah.
football.
Especially it's near Christmas. I think both of us have family stuff early in the day on Saturday that's gonna mess with the noon college football game and the 1 o'clock NFL game. So
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
why?
It's
Why we
like,
gotta why we gotta do it?
agreed. It's frustrating. I'm gonna be more focused on the college games for that. But I
Yeah, they're
obviously
good NFL games,
there's
but
good NFL. Yeah, we're gonna be betting on those NFL games.
college is win or go home that weekend,
Yeah,
so I think that
yeah.
does
So
take
all the
precedent.
games are important, really.
Yeah.
But we'll be keeping up on that because we already talked about it. We're gonna be taking one of those games at least from that Saturday slate.
Yeah, we've seen
Whenever
some things we like.
Yeah, we already like some of those things. So come check that out on Friday if you guys are wanting to know which ones we're talking about specifically. Um, and then come
Teaser.
check out tomorrow if you guys want to see what we're picking for college football because we are gonna have we're gonna do basically this. Well, not this. We're gonna do all of our picks like we did on that you like you guys saw on Friday for college football this upcoming week, and that's gonna be out for you guys tomorrow. So
Yeah, and we'll continue that for probably the rest of the college football season.
yeah, we'll do that
I
until
got some
college football
futures
season
for you guys
ends.
too.
Yeah, and then after the season ends, we do have a lot of, not a lot, but we have some plans for you guys, keep you guys entertained. So we'll be doing that very shortly when the season ends. Um, but yeah, so anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that. The official tally, like we said earlier, minus 0.72 units on the week. We went 5 for 13. Um, hopefully we're having a better week next week. We'll figure out. We'll let you guys know about that on Friday, and then we will
Yeah,
see you guys.
we're
What
gonna really grind out these player props and like put more of an emphasis on those because that bothers me that we struggle with those.
Yeah,
Like Connor said, 5 and 13's bad, or 5 for 13's bad, but only down less than 1 unit. That's good, I think, for 5 and 13. So good. That's why the unit management and how much you're putting based on how much confidence you have it is important. And we finished hot though. We got 4 in a row to end the week. So
yep.
that a little momentum maybe. I don't know if that's a thing in betting, but it is in my brain. So happy
I
about
think it's a thing
the
too.
next week.
It is in my brain at least. I don't know about
Yeah.
betting, but in my brain it feels like it is. I feel like when you're hot, and when you're not, you're not. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can get pretty hot. Hopefully it starts on Saturday with our college football bets, and it
Yeah,
just
let's have a
continues.
good weekend, not just NFL, a good overall weekend.
That's what we're hoping for this weekend.
I need it now that my Dolphins are pretty much toast.
Yeah, but we're still both alive in the playoffs, so
We are.
that's what we're
We
going
are
to be
very
paying
well
attention to.
alive.
And then think about the content. If we pass the first round, if you know, like I got two opportunities to make it to the second round. You got one. If we both make it to the second round, we're gonna be happier than pigs and shit, you know? And we'll be talking about that for God only knows how long. So,
Yeah,
that'd
we'll
be
be.
great. That'd be perfect for us. So
Yeah,
we'll
you
have
don't want to miss the CFB recap because either if our teams win or lose, we're gonna have stuff to
oh,
say,
we're gonna
and
have
then
we're gonna have lots to talk about.
we got a guy that'll go on with Connor for to talk about Ohio State and Penn State. We got a resident Big Ten fan that we're gonna bring in for that as well. So a lot of exciting stuff from us coming up.
But yeah, so stay tuned for that. We will see you guys tomorrow with our picks for the college football. We'll see you guys in 2 days for our picks for NFL, and then we'll see you guys next week for the recap of all that. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good one, and we'll see you guys then.